everyone, and welcome to my Scrappy Ideas. This is TinaGale, and I'm so excited today to be participating in the My Scraps and More Pinterest crop. So this is my first challenge, and as you saw, I have this mood board that I created. I love to go to Pinterest and find mood boards that other people have created and save those. And sometimes when you just need a little bit of extra inspiration, whether it be a color scheme or just some elements to include on your pages, and sometimes even just the design of your pages can be found on a mood board. And so I was really excited to do this challenge here and to create the mood board for you to use as well as myself. And so it matched perfectly in with the Cocoa Vanilla Life is Beautiful collection. So if you're a follower on my YouTube channel, you know I just featured another layout on last Friday using this collection, and I just absolutely love it. So I was really excited to use it again for these photos. And so I've just started out with this chevron blue background. And then I'm just going to build up some layers, and I decided I wanted just a kind of a larger square piece to build all my photos on, because this layout's going to have a lot of photos. And so if you're one of my subscribers, or even if you're not a subscriber, I get asked a lot about using more than one photo on a layout, and I do that quite often. And so this is one of them. I have two 4x6s, and then that other one I cut down to about 4x4. It could have been left 4x6, but there wasn't really anything important in it, and I wanted it to really be the focal point of my layout of the photo of my son and myself, and then my daughter in the photo by herself on that side. So I really wanted those to stand out. So by cropping that down to a 4x4, it really brought it into sharp focus. Okay, so I've just cut some strips. That's just gonna kind of helped move the flow of the layout and stuff, getting around to the photos and everything. And I love to use that large scalloped border punch, and it has an embossing dot on it, but if you don't squeeze very hard, then you don't see the emboss. And so I just took some of the pink paper that had the butterflies on it and did the large scalloped punch on that. And I'm just going to build this up onto this left hand side to kind of frame around my photos and to lead the eye through the layout. When you have a lot of photos that you're trying to get onto a single page or even a double page, and there are two different orientations, like I have a landscape and a vertical one, a portrait one, and then my square one. One great way to start your design is just to have them lined up across the bottom. And so I'm keeping those together so that it creates a straight line. And then I'm taking the right one off of that pink background piece. But yet on the left-hand side, my photo's going in a little bit, so I have that little bit of pink showing on that side. And that's just another little design tip to keep your eye flowing through the page. If they were all within that pink deal, then it would be much more of a grid, very linear and very chop, and your eye would kind of stop at everything. And so by doing that little bit of hangover on the right, it just kind of helps get your eye just to keep flowing around the page and stuff. So that's another little design that I like to do on pages, especially using lots of photos. And so now I have all of the embellishments from this Life is Beautiful line. I have the ephemera pack, which is just jam-packed with all of these die cuts of these beautiful flowers and butterflies. So I pulled most of those out to use on this layout. Again, it was one I wanted to keep kind of feminine and pretty, and it matched with my mood board. On my mood board, I had this beautiful picture of these butterflies, and so I wanted to kind of pull the butterflies off of that mood board onto my layout. I also have the wood veneer and the badges, and I'm really had a hard time using these badges on my layouts. I'm not sure why, but I get at least one used on this particular layout, so hopefully I'm going to get those used up. Then the other thing that I pulled was lots of these little die cuts that had words and stuff on them. So I have one for each little cluster embellishment that I'm going to do. So it says love it, so very special, and then smile. And I'm just going to build up those areas, and I'm going to keep my journaling down at the bottom of the photo where all that pink is. I'm leaving all of that opened so that I can put my little story down there that I want to be told. And these photos were from a Disney trip that I took, I believe it was 2013, 14, no, 2014, I believe. And it was a trip that my family surprised me with, to go to Disney World to visit my son. And so it was a trip that my daughter and I just made, and my husband stayed home to work. But it was for my birthday and for Mother's Day. And so they flew me out right kind of in between. So I was there over Mother's Day and then just a couple of days after my birthday. And so they like to try to surprise me. And this particular day, we were at Epcot, and we were walking all around, and Epcot is my place where I love to eat. So if you watch the layout that I did last Friday, we were eating, and actually I think it was the same day, we were eating at the French bakery. And I just love to eat around the world, so it's just some of the best food ever. And I had kept trying to get them to stop in Germany because they had these apple fritter bread things that just looked heavenly, and I had never had one, and so, but they're really big, and I kept asking them, will you share one with me? And they're like, no, and they just kept ignoring me. And it got to the point I was about ready to get really upset with them, because they were like hurrying through stuff, and then they would slow down, and then I'd try to get them to try something, and usually I don't have any problems with them eating, but this particular time they didn't want to eat, and they just kept going and going. And we had talked about eating in this restaurant back here in Italy, and it's Via Napoli's, and it's a pizza Italian place. But it's a little bit more expensive, and so we'd never tried it before, and the kids kept going, well, let's go down and look at the menu and stuff. And so we go down, and we're looking at the menu, and I'm like, yeah, whatever. And by that time, I was a little bit upset because I wanted my German apple fritter that they wouldn't share with me. And so I turned around to walk off, and they're grabbing a hold of me and pulling me back, and I'm going, what? We are not eating here. No, we've already eaten this other stuff. We've got reservations later. And they just shoved me in, and then come to find out, they were trying to space it out while they were speeding up and slowing down. They had reservations here for my birthday to surprise me. And we were too early for the reservation, so they were trying to kill time, which is why I was wanting to eat. And they didn't want me to eat because they knew they were taking me here. So it was so hilarious once I figured out. But I'm like, we're standing in the restaurant, and I'm going, why are we in here? Because we're not eating. This is not where our reservations are at and all of that. And then they're just laughing. And so when we get seated, they start telling me, happy birthday. And this is their gift from them to me. And it was such a special lunch that we had there, and so funny. So we're going to have to work on our surprise skills, but it was a lot of fun. And the food was fabulous, but I still want my German apple fritter that I still to this day have not gotten. So someday, hopefully, they'll take me for my apple fritter there. So to finish up the layout, I've pretty much got all of the embellishments and stuff done. And if you'll notice, another thing that I like to do is when, especially all of my Disney photos, it's almost impossible to get pictures without someone else in the background or whatever. And so I just pulled my clusters over into the photos to help cover up the distracting people that are not part of my family or part of my trip that I don't want to know are in my photos. And so I just pulled those flowers over the top of them, and it's not like obvious that that's what I was doing, but it's just another little trick that I like to do. To block out some of those people. It's not always possible to do it, but if there's any way I can, then I do try to. And so I had this word happy up at the top, and I decided to put it on the going up along that photo, to help fill in that space, I didn't want so much of that pink showing, and I could have done the happy across, you know, the way we read, but by putting it up, it's kind of a subtitle and it helps fill up that space, but it's more of a design element than just, you know, a title or a subtitle. And I just went through and pop dotted some things up. I pop dotted the little banner up and the word happy and the little peach colored flower that I have. And then on my butterflies, I always put little pop dots up underneath the wings so that they'll kind of stay up and keep some little dimension. And then I have my enamel dots that I'm just going to finish it off, going around and just adding some. And sorry that the layout kind of was up at the top the whole time. My camera's gotten moved and I moved my mat, and I'm having a really hard time keeping my layout in the focus of the camera without that mat. But I was noticing that the color of my mat is really distorting the colors in my papers and all of that. And so I'm trying to work around that right now. So here is just my date stamp. I'm going to stamp the date on there, which I actually did wrong, and I even told you wrong because I kept trying to figure out what year this was. It was 2013. So, and I had stamped 14 and I had to go kind of scratch it out. So here are your still photos. I hope you enjoyed this. Be sure to hop on over to My Scraps and More and join us in the crop all weekend long, and you have over a week to create your layouts and enter for some great prizes. So thanks so much for watching, and we will see you real soon. Bye.